Sue. I don't know how many episodes on photography we have done, but let's see if we can wrap it up today, shall we?
Let's.
Okay. All right. So we'll jump straight in. How many locations do you think that couples should get photos at?
Oh, look, honestly, if you just have one beautiful location, it's enough. If you want to go a bit crazy, you can have two, but you've got to factor in the travel time and parking capability between the two places. So if you're going to say, well, we want to have photos at the Sydney Harbour Bridge, that's probably enough because it's crazy town with tourists, hard to get a park, people everywhere. And when you're taking a photo at a place like that, sometimes you've got to wait for cars to go past and buses and wait for people to get out the way. So everything just takes that little bit longer. So, look, one is
Mhm.
ideal. If you just are obsessed and you must have two locations, just know you're going to be away from your guests for a fair while. And how long do you want to be away from your guests for?
Yeah, that's a fair question because as going to weddings and seeing all of the guests there, the longer they sit there, the antsier they get.
Looking at their
Yeah,
watch, there's, I'm hungry, I'm
exactly.
thirsty. Yeah. Like we all
Yeah,
do.
exactly. Exactly. So I think that's a fair point. Always making sure you allow travel time in there for everybody, especially the photographer. And I guess it kind of also brings me to the point of, do you think most photographers always include a group photo with the family photos, or is that something that you should definitely tell them about if you want it?
I don't know how to say this without offending photographers, but photographers are not going to do anything extra that they don't have to do. And you have to be a pretty confident, outgoing person to arrange a group photo. So for me, it's a piece of cake. I just yell and boss people and get them into position so it's no problem. But not all photographers are that confident. So you have to say if you want a group photo, you need to tell them. And 9 times out of 10 for a group photo, you need a ladder. So where are you going to do the group photo? Are you going to carry a ladder in your car? Or
Mm.
maybe has the venue got one? Like I've worked at venues over the years that the organizer has come out with a ladder for my group photo. And I was like, oh, wow, this person is really switched on. That's absolutely brilliant. But trust me, they don't always do that. And the problem is after a ceremony, people just get in their cars and drive off, or they go back to where they're staying, and then you go to do the photo, and half the people are missing. So I always ask the celebrant to let people, or the priest to let people know that once the ceremony's done, congratulate the bride and groom and do not leave because we are doing group photo. I've had mum and dad drive off. Oh, we've had enough of going to the pub. Not even there for family photos. And I'm sort of there going, what? So you have to tell people, you have to actually say, and the way that you can address everyone and have a captive audience is during the ceremony because people don't talk. So you say, please tell people to stay for the group photo and please tell family members, even if it's great auntie Nell and great uncle Bob, don't go away. You're still part of the family. But I also know couples that say, I don't want a group photo with everyone. You don't have to have a group photo. But I think it's really nice to look. Did you get a group photo, Sarah? No, good. It must have been a crappy one. Usually, a group
No,
photo is
no.
really important because for years you'll look at it and say, "Oh, I forgot they were there. Oh, I don't even like them anymore. God, I can't believe I invited them to my wedding." You know what I mean? But I personally think
Yeah.
group photos are fantastic.
Same, same. I agree. And I wish I would have got one, but hey, I would have been happy with one photo from my wedding. But anyway,
I told you, Sarah, he's going to send them to you for your 20th wedding anniversary. Didn't you read the
that's
fine
right.
print in the contract
I
with
know.
him?
No, I didn't.
Yes.
Well, okay. Well, that moves me on to another point. Um, do couples pay or should they be prepared to pay for a meal for the photographer?
Absolutely. God, blimey. I think I could do a whole I won't though. You told me not
No,
to. So we've got
no.
to finish this today. In the thousands of weddings I've shot, I have sometimes like you're up at 6 in the morning, you're on the road. I can be
Yeah.
on the road and shooting for 15 hours. And even though you have your little snacks in your car with you, you're starving. And I've got to a reception before and sat there and gone, okay, they're not going to feed me. Excuse me, function organizer, caterer, going out to the kitchen. Do you think I could? No, because the bride and groom didn't pay for meal and we've got no food left. And it's like, are you serious? Can you make me a sandwich? Can you give me anything? So, yes, we deserve a meal. And if you don't want to pay for what your guests are getting, you can have what's called a service meal, which might mean your guests might be getting Wagyu beef, but your workers are getting a chicken snitty. Like I said, I wouldn't care if I got sandwiches, but come on, be fair. Yes, you need to pay for food for your photographer. Also, you do that with anyone, your videographer,
Hmm.
your photo booth people, anyone that's there working during a mealtime, feed them. Look how much you spent on your wedding. What's another $50 to feed the people who were there to really have your back?
Exactly. And plus, you want to make sure you have really lovely edited photos. So you need to take care of your photographer.
Yeah, because like if your sugar level drips that drops that badly, or people are being mean to you, well, yes, you can edit photos, can't you,
Yeah,
Sarah?
yeah,
That's
just joking.
terrible.
Just joking. But
Just jokes, jokes, jokes.
just
Yeah, just
joking.
jokes.
But yeah, no, we definitely by that time we want to have something to eat, guys. So please,
We do, but usually, Sarah,
yeah,
usually it's in the contract that you have to feed.
exactly.
You have to feed them.
Yeah.
I was at a wedding once that it was actually on the Central Coast, and I never used to carry a purse with me into weddings because you had so much stuff.
Yeah.
And I went up to the bar and I said to the girl, it was at a surf club, "Could I have a lemonade, please?" And she said, "Yes, that will be like $3 or something." And I was so taken back. I said, "Oh, I haven't got any money." She said, "Don't worry, you can have it." And I thought, well, really, if you're not going to give the lemonade without charging them, it's crazy because I didn't take my purse in. I already got
And
enough expensive gear with me. I don't need to have my bag there with my purse in it and not be able to keep an eye on it. So, yeah, I've had a few of those. Or just, nope, sorry, you'll
yeah,
have to drink water. Lucky I like water.
I know. Good thing
Actually, do
there,
you know what,
isn't it?
Sarah? Just this is really quick. This brings up one.
Okay.
Should you allow a photographer, videographer to have alcohol? And this is a really big one because there are
Mm,
photographers who will enjoy a beer or a glass of wine with their meal, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I wouldn't be wanting my photographer or videographer to have more than one drink. It's that simple. They're working.
yeah. Exactly. Exactly. No, I would agree with that for sure. For sure. So then that also kind of goes into the section about, obviously with the meals, having to provide them. Should you have one or two photographers? Because obviously then you have to supply more meals.
Yeah.
But what's the benefit of having a second photographer?
All right. I used to always say up to 100 people, I could handle that on my own, no problem at all. Once they got over 100, and I used to do weddings in Sydney with up to 400 guests, huge Lebanese weddings and Indian weddings and all different cultures.
Mm,
You cannot cover everything with one photographer. So there were times I had to have a second photographer, but second photographer means double the money just about. They've got to be
yeah.
paid double the editing. It's a lot of work. So if you're going to have a second photographer, also if the travel distance is great between where the bride's getting ready and the groom's getting ready, it's good sometimes to say, right, that photographer's just going to go hang with the boys for the morning. I'll go
Yeah.
hang with the girls. We'll meet at the church. There's always a lead. So, whoever the lead photographer is, it's their job to capture the very important key photos, the groom looking at the bride walking down the aisle, the kiss, those seconds. Whereas your second photographer is kind of doing the more candid stuff. There's mum's face, nana's face, the little bits and pieces. So, your photographers have to know how to work together also so they don't get in each other's photos. Like there's nothing worse than you've got this beautiful photo set up and there's your second photographer behind them. So
Yeah.
two photographers can be brilliant. It's going to cost you a lot more. But yeah, there's definitely pros for it. But smaller weddings, come on, a good photographer can handle it on their own.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Um, And I agree. I agree with that. And it's very handy, especially when I think back to when we used to do the Sydney weddings and how how full on it was. Like literally we'd be eating snacks in the car between the bride and the groom and between getting to the church and all that sort of stuff and
And going to
trying
the
to literally
bathroom even.
I know,
Like
and
you'd get to the
racing
church
things
and you'd be
everywhere.
like, I've got to go, I've got to go. They're about to walk down the aisle and you're like, to the
I know.
priest, have you got no, the bathrooms, just see that building over there. So yes, the basics in
Yeah.
life are not
It's
easy
full
on
on.
wedding days.
No, they're not. They're not. So yeah, I agree. Two photographers when needed is actually a great option. So this one might be a bit of a tricky, well, it's probably a bit of a big one to answer. So this will
Okay.
probably be the last question for the
Okay.
day. What happens if my photographer cancels the day of or the day before due to an emergency?
Okay. I'm not going to make it too big because every photographer is different and different things written in their terms and conditions of their contract.
Yeah.
This is fun because this hit a lot of photographers hard over COVID.
Yeah.
Photographers always, good photographers have a network around them of other good photographers. And they often have little groups that they talk on Messenger and they have each other's backs. So what would generally happen is something happens, someone's sick, your photographer's got COVID, which now it's not such an issue, but it certainly was. You would just get a message out to everyone you know, help, 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 SOS. And if you're available or I don't have a wedding book today, yes, I'll come in and help you. But sometimes you can contact 20 people and they're all booked and not available. So what does it say in your contract? Most photographers will say if in the event of an absolute emergency, which is they just cannot find anyone to do it, you'll get your money back. And that's not much. I don't know. It's not much peace of mind, is it?
No,
But there's
not
a
really.
reality here is you can't promise someone you're going to give them another photographer because what if you've got four backup photographers? Oh, one's overseas and one's shooting a wedding that day and one's said, oh my God, I've woken up, my baby's sick, I've got to take them to hospital.
Mm,
I never had that situation in my business. I always managed to be able to rally someone. There's going to be a chance sometimes they can't and it's a bit like everyone, isn't it, Sarah? It's a bit like your cake maker, your florist, they've got to depend on other people. There's a very, very tiny, tiny remote chance that maybe they couldn't find anyone. But as a bride and groom, if that happened and your photographer says, I can't find anyone, I would go onto every Facebook page known to man with anything to do with weddings and put out a massive SOS. SOS, this has happened. And you'll find that there'll be photographers coming forward and saying, oh my God, I'll come and help you. And it would mean that
yeah,
your photographer would pay them. So I would use social media, even if they're not as good as the photographer you booked. Geez, you'd just be so grateful to have someone cover it. So I wish I
absolutely.
could give something a little bit more warm and fuzzy to that answer, but
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, I'm going to actually extend that a
Yes.
little bit because, I just like putting you on the
Yeah,
spot
you just
like
like
this.
messing with my head, I know.
I do. So let's just say, hypothetically, what can you do as a bride and groom if your photographer doesn't turn up? They can't find anyone. Do you have any suggestions for people out there as to what they can do? Oh,
No,
I
but
agree, puppy.
no, yes,
I
I
agree.
actually that's Solo saying that he has an answer.
Awesome.
Oh,
Solo,
they're
what is the answer?
uh, yeah, okay, no, that's honestly that's
That's
what
fair.
I would have said. Thank you,
Okay.
Solo. He's been listening to Mummy.
Okay.
I would ask every single person at the wedding who has a phone, which is everybody,
That's very
95%,
true. Yeah.
to go to town and take as many photos with their phones as they humanly possibly can. And then afterwards, I would organise for them to be sent. Now, you got to kind of set that up, though, Sarah, because you want them in high resolution. You don't want them
Yeah.
just sending you phone to phone and them coming across in tiny sizes.
Mhm.
And I would be sending every single iPhone photo on a stick or a drive or something, or airdropping it to my photographer. And I would be getting them to edit. I couldn't care if there was 5,000 photos. They should be able to pull enough out to be able to save. Now, that doesn't mean that you still don't get your money back from the photographer, but maybe you could negotiate a deal. Hey, I've been sent all these photos. Half of them are just horrible, but I've actually got 200 photos that my guests have taken, which are pretty good. Negotiate with them to edit them for you, because I think it's like quite big photo size. I don't know how many meg, but it's got to be 10 meg plus a photo.
On your iPhone, yeah, I
Yeah, it's
think it
got to
is
be.
these days.
Which
Yeah.
that can be edited reasonably well. So I would just rely on my friends to go nuts. So, hey, if I get one beautiful one of our kiss at the altar, and if I get one beautiful one of him looking at me, and you know,
Yeah.
what do you think, Sarah? I mean, you got any other ideas I haven't thought of with that?
No, I actually think that's perfect. The only other thing I would probably do would be to have a look around in the group, and also see who's got pro cameras, because these days a lot of people do have
They're hobby
pro cameras.
photographers. Yep.
Yeah. So I would
What
probably
do we
go
call
to
them,
them.
Sarah? We call
Uncle
them
Bob.
Uncle Bobs. Uncle Bob's,
I
when
would
they're at our wedding with their camera running around like they're the professional photographer, we politely call them Uncle Bob.
well, I would probably go in search of all the Uncle
Uncle Bob.
Bobs that day, and
I
I would
agree.
say, "Uncle Bob, go on auto, make
Yeah.
sure you
Yeah.
shoot everything," and to go, and it would be really good if they actually could remember to ask them to shoot in RAW.
Yeah. Shoot
That
him raw
would be
and
the
just
ultimate.
shoot
Everything.
shoot 5,000 photos. Who cares? Because they might stuff up five and get one right of the shot that you need. So
Yeah.
Uncle Bob can be very handy, but Uncle Bob probably doesn't have really big cards. Like people that aren't
Yes,
shooting
that's true.
professionally have small cards, maybe 4 gig, where we use 128 gig cards. Now, those cards can be $300 each. So you might have to say, Uncle Bob, go down to Harvey Norman. I will pay you $500 to pick up two massive cards, because I don't want you at the end of the wedding to go, I can't take photos of you doing your dance because I've run out. Even if they need to go buy extra batteries, you cover it because you're going to get money back anyway. So Uncle Bob can be a blessing.
He can be, he can
Can be
be. So
she as
for
well. Can be
I know for
Auntie Bobby.
oh, okay. I just had Auntie Mary come to me, but that's okay.
Auntie
Auntie
Mary and Uncle Bob.
okay. You gotta love Auntie Mary and Uncle Bob.
You would
Yeah,
love
I
them if
did
they
say that right.
saved your day on your wedding day. And actually, look, I think a really ordinary photographer can go out and take 5,000 photos, stuff up 4,000 of them, and have 1,000 to work with, edit them, and still be able to give you 500 really good photos. Just takes a
Yeah,
lot of edit time.
I agree, I agree, and the good thing is, well, hopefully that never happens to anyone, but if it did happen, if they can at least get it to the professional photographer, then at least they will be edited professionally, and then
And
that way they can hopefully save some for you.
the same goes with video. You
Yeah,
you would just
oh,
get the same video, and then you would work out that to be edited. So yeah.
absolutely, and if you do get it done in video, make sure that you tell everybody to film landscape instead of portrait.
Yeah, because people don't realize you don't watch your television in
Portrait,
portrait.
yeah.
You're always in landscape when it comes to video.
Yeah, so hopefully those things you will not need, but if you do,
I hope not. I hope not.
I know, I
Good
can't
plan
yeah,
Z. We'll call it a
yeah,
plan Z.
awesome. Well, that has brought us to the end of the questions
No,
of the
we
photography
haven't.
section.
We haven't
Woohoo!
wrapped up photography. There's no chance. But in a last little thing I'd like to say is, why
Uh-huh.
is photography probably the single most important thing for most couples on their wedding day? Why do you think that, Sarah?
It's the memories, Sue, and it's the passing on of them because, as we know, I don't have that. So I know how important it actually is.
You know how important those photos are that you don't have. And
I
that's
do.
it, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, your memory will fade a little bit and you will look
Yeah.
at those photos when you're gone. You know, you're going to have grandkids, grandkids looking at those photos. That's why photography and videography, you eat your food and it was delicious and great and all that, but photography and videography is really what you're left with. Oh, see,
Exactly.
Solo agrees. He just
Exactly.
gave
He
me a little
sure
bark
does.
agreeing, yeah.
Well, no, Solo actually wants to know
Oh, he's
about that.
always wants to know stuff.
He wants to know about that one time where the bride had a wedding dress malfunction and it was in a church and the priest nearly had a heart attack. That's what
I
Solo
thought I
wants
was
to
going
know.
I thought I was going to have to perform CPR. It was in Sydney. My bride was this beautiful bride, and she was well and down like Dolly Parton, and she had a strapless dress.
Oh,
We're going to
goody.
go into that in other episodes, but
We will.
seriously, if you are like Dolly Parton, what's going to hold that dress up? So I was a little concerned while she was getting ready, but by the time we actually got to the church, by the time she rode in the car, all the boning that was holding her Dolly Parton boobies up had collapsed. So we
Oh,
had
no.
we, I just didn't know. I just said, hold your flowers up really high. So anyway, it was an hour and a half ceremony. It was like a full mass. Luckily, I had side doors at the back of the church. And I just watched her dress drop like half an inch every few minutes until her boobs were almost hanging out. And I saw the look on the bride's, on the on the priest's face. She kept trying to pull it up. So while he was the same stuff, I went to the side behind and I grabbed her and I pulled her back and I made her jump up and down about 10 times to get her boobs back in. Then I got her to go back. So we just got through that. And then when we actually got to the photo
Oh,
shoot,
my.
I got the bridesmaids' flowers. I ripped off about a meter of white satin ribbon. I always carried a needle and thread in my survival kit, which we talk about later as well. And I actually sewed straps on and I crisscrossed them at the back, pulled them up, and looked like she had a designer that saved the day.
Oh my gosh. Thank God for you and your survival kit. And thank God for ribbon.
And yet, needle and thread, yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. The poor priest. I would have loved to have seen the look on his face. Did you capture that by any chance?
I'm sure if I went back through those photos, I can see him mopping his brow and feeling a little bit nervous.
Oh, bless. Oh, that's hilarious. Well, thank you for sharing that story, Sue.
Oh, I
You
got
put a
plenty more.
smile on all of our
Okay.
faces, I'm sure.
Yes, the visual that everyone's got in their minds. But she was a pretty girl too, so
Why not?
why not?
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing.